Hello, Hunter.
How
Hey,
are you?
Fabulous.
I'm good. And let's see. And there we go. There. Sorry about my dyslexic. I couldn't get your name out. It was just the letters were all just doing this today. It's really dyslexia. I'm on the struggle bus today with my dyslexia.
my name's a challenge. It's too much of the same thing twice. So it's Bryn Brum, but it's a lot.
Bryn Brum. My
Yes.
apologies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Woof.
The alliteration
Yes.
is trips you up a little bit.
And I love alliteration.
Me
I
too.
love to write it, but saying it for the first time can really be a
Well, it
How,
didn't help throwing my name in there, Hunter, because
yeah. So, Bryn, how are you doing today? Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from Denver, doing great. It's a little colder here today, but having a good time in Colorado.
Okay, I love Colorado. The sand dunes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those,
That's kind of down south, but it's an awesome spot. Great sand
yeah,
dunes. Awesome you've been there before.
yeah, I've hiked those before when I did a road trip across the states. It's like you're in another planet. It's like Dune. Like, what
Yeah.
is going on
It
here?
does not fit with the rest of the landscape for sure.
Oh, it's totally beautiful. Well, that's awesome. And Cheyenne, how about you? Where are you calling in from?
So I'm actually a native San Antonio Texan. I am, though, in Houston today, working from our Houston office here. Esri has a regional office in San Antonio, but we have a satellite office in Houston.
Oh, fantastic. You're my second person on the summit this week calling in from Houston. So
Cool.
I love my Texas folks. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your backgrounds before we jump into the topic. So Cheyenne, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I've had an interesting journey from a career standpoint. I graduated college at the height of the decline of the economy close to the beginning of 2008. And so I had
Okay, same.
to,
Hey,
so
friend.
yeah, so the struggle was
I
real in
do.
terms of navigating where to start your career path. So I started with sales, selling home alarms. That was a door-to-door, 100% commission. Worked my way to medical device sales, and then joined Esri in 2012. Completely different technology company, software company, but I was just looking for something different than medical. And so here we are. And I've been at Esri almost 13 years. And as we'll get into today, have had a really great opportunity to have different roles across this organization, and now leadership. So very
Mm.
fortunate.
I had when I graduated, we had a senator for my state was actually our speaker, and he said, "It's rough." Like he was pretty much because it was the collapse had just happened,
It had
and
just
he was
happened.
like, "Hang in there," and we're like, "Oh, this is a very inspiring way to go out into the world."
Yes. So yeah, it's when young professionals today talk about the job market, I'm like, it's not, it could be worse. I promise. I've lived it.
Yeah, it could be worse, and also I feel you. I have empathy for you. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Bryn, how about you?
Well, I also graduated from college in 2007. So I was in the same
Great.
boat.
We all went to school together. I love
Yes,
it. We're
yes.
all litter mates.
And I stumbled my way, luckily, into Esri. So I felt very
Really?
fortunate to be landing at Esri. I didn't really know what I was landing into because I didn't have the experience of some other opportunities out there. But I've been with Esri now 17 years, and I consider myself lucky to have started here and been in an organization that kind of took a chance on someone who didn't have really the appropriate background in a lot of ways. I didn't have, we're a GIS company. I didn't have a GIS background like a lot of the folks that I work with. I didn't have a sales background, but I started in sort of an entry-level sales position and worked through various roles of that and onto a leadership role a couple years ago.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thanks.
So I would love to kick it off with you, Bryn, because I feel like you probably have some firsthand experience with lateral career shifts before you moved up. So tell me a little bit about that and what key skills did you gain along the way? I imagine over 17 years, you said?
Yeah, 17 years last month. Yeah.
Wow,
Um,
great.
yeah. So, I think if I give you a little more context about what those roles were, that might help. So I started in, our sales side, and I've had the bulk of my career was essentially versions of an account manager, various different roles, what we call account management. And I loved that role. I learned a lot in that role. I had a great team of people that I got to work with that helped develop me and, helped me learn a lot along the way. But at some point I felt like I was ready to do something different. And I applied for a position that was more of a domain expert in support of account managers. And in doing so, I found myself in a different part of the organization with people I didn't know, and a different structure, different ideas, different tactics that I wouldn't have had exposure to had I kind of stayed in the position I was in. And that turned out to be a great move for me personally. I ended up finding a mentor on that team that saw me as a leader before I saw myself as a leader and encouraged me to be a leader. And so sort of pushed me into that leadership role pretty quickly on the new team. And that worked out for the best for me. You know, on my old team, there were leadership opportunities that I did not pursue. And there's a variety of reasons for that, but one of the main ones is I felt like I was working with my peers. I didn't feel like at that stage in my career that I was a leader on that team. I felt like I was working with a lot of people that had a lot of great skills that I really admired, but I felt like I was a peer. And so I never saw myself leading on that team at that point, at my career point at that stage. So then when I came over to this new team and I was pushed into a leadership role, it was a benefit to me because I was on a team that didn't have to reinvent myself as a leader. I think that can also be a hard thing to go from a peer to a leader. And I think that worked really nicely, that I could sort of start over with a new team and cut my teeth as a leader before having to like shift people's mindset at the same time.
Right.
So,
It's like switching schools, new you, right?
yep. Yep.
Yeah. Cheyenne, have you experienced lateral moves, or if not, would you like to share on what you've witnessed with others?
I have. So I have had 3 lateral moves at Esri before I moved into leadership. And it was such a great journey for me because my first role at Esri was in our education services division. So we're a software company, but we do build training materials for our user base. So we have a really robust training catalog for our software. And I was in sales and I sold the training on that side of the house. So I brought all my background in sales to Esri in that role, and loved the role, but saw an opportunity to grow my skill set. So I moved into account management, which Bryn described earlier. It's a sales role at Esri. It's really the role where you're responsible for making sure we sell our software on the account management side, taking care of our clients. And then from there, I was an account manager for almost 5 years. I made a huge career shift within Esri. I decided to pursue project management, which was moving out of sales and into our consulting division, and really having to go through a very formal process of learning project management. And I knew that that would be something that would grow me into a new skill set way beyond what I experienced in my sales history, either prior to Esri or at Esri. And I loved that, and actually didn't think I would transition out of doing project management at Esri until, similar to Bryn, the leadership opportunity at Esri actually found me. I wasn't seeking it. And we'll talk more about this later, but so I moved from project management back into the sales side to pursue this leadership opportunity. So lots of moves within 3 different divisions at Esri to get to the point where we're landing now.
Yeah, amazing. Well, also congratulations to you.
Thank you.
So Cheyenne, I'd love to stick with you for a moment. What advice do you have for professionals who may feel stuck in their roles, but they're unsure how to make a lateral move or a step at this time?
I think being curious is one of the best traits that you can have. And so making sure you're seeking opportunities to learn what other people do at the organization. So if you're feeling stuck and you're feeling like maybe a change is needed, use the platform that you have within your own organization to research and discover what opportunities might exist for you out there. And the best way to do that is by leveraging either people that you work closely with already that are functioning in different roles, or if you even want to take the initiative to just go set up like informal interviews with people that you know or lightly know, to specifically learn more about what they do, discover what the day in the life is for them, ask them what's rewarding, what's challenging about their role, really seek that curiosity of other opportunities within the organization to see if something inspires you. One of the roles I made, particularly the role changes that I made at Esri in particular, from the sales side to the project management side was because I worked closely with project managers at Esri when I was in sales. And I learned so much about what they did, learned what they felt their contributions to the organizations were. I knew what their gratification points were, and I sought that. So I made that move because I had the opportunity to get exposed to what they did, and it inspired me to make that lateral move.
I love that. It is inspiring to hear what you're saying about reaching out to your community, checking in with your peers, asking questions, curiosity, as you said, because sure, leadership on paper sounds great, but what does that actually even mean, right?
Yeah.
It's just, am I reaching for a plaque card on a desk, or am I actually looking to grow as a human and give back to a company that has been fostering you as a professional? So, Bryn, I would love to hear about that experience for you as well.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons someone might feel stuck. Maybe it's there's not opportunities in your team, or there's a lot of future leaders on your team, or you're not challenged, or you're just ready for something different. And I think a lateral move could address a lot of those things. And maybe a lateral move is more in reach than a promotion on your team for whatever reason. So I think making that lateral move can help develop new skills for you, expose you to new folks in the organization. I think Shianne and I both talked about how those changes help us kind of broaden our network. And for me, I feel like a real plus was that when I made my lateral move, my previous role, skills and connections and knowledge was an asset to that new role. So as a domain expert supporting account managers knew that I'd been an account manager. So I felt like that helped to build trust, helped to build rapport. And I think that was key for me in my lateral move and feeling comfortable in that lateral move is I wasn't completely making a change. Maybe that was Cheyenne's experience, but for me, I liked that I had like a good foundation and I could leverage that existing knowledge to expand my network and my skills based on kind of what I already was familiar with.
Yeah. And what roles, speaking of to your skills, what role does upskilling have on and continuous learning have on preparing for leadership? I imagine you want to know what your team is going through, and it probably particularly helps if you've been through similar situations yourself.
Yep. And I think like continuously learning, what I think of here is like finding opportunities to push your skills. So, this will help you prepare for future career opportunities and explore areas of the organization you didn't know you kind of liked. But you can do this within your organization and role. It doesn't have to be like outside of you doesn't have to go to school necessarily for some of these things. And I think of this as like finding challenging projects or learning from experts or looking at like unfamiliar responsibilities that you can sort of take on. And doing so will help you find things that you're good at, find things that maybe you don't like, find things that maybe you need to practice more that will help you expand your possibilities for the future. And I think doing some of those, what we call kind of stretch assignments, can help build confidence, make you more adaptable, help with your problem solving skills. And those are all key qualities if like leadership is something you want to be doing in the future.
I love seek out unfamiliar responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
That's fire. Cheyenne, talk to me about that.
Yeah, I think that from my perspective, in terms of continuous learning and upskilling, from my experience of stepping into leadership, you need to be a really great coach as a leader. And so some of the best coaches were former players, and specifically former players that got to fill a lot of slots on a team and learn all the different functions of a team. So when I think about continuous learning and upskilling and how that might play into a future leadership opportunity, similar to what Bryn was saying, it's like always look for those opportunities to stretch yourself to learn something new, even if it's from within the role you're in right now, or if it is a lateral move that's going to help you gain that exposure of getting those new skill sets. Because to be a good coach, you have to bring a broad perspective, a broad range of experience. And so if you're focusing on growing your skill sets at both depth and breadth, which is really what upskilling is, then that's going to help position you if you do make that move into leadership at some point.
You two work alongside each other, collaborate?
We're
Go ahead,
peers,
Bryn.
but on different teams, essentially. So I'm on the state and local team.
Okay. So you
Yeah,
witness each other's working styles?
yeah, we've started to. So we've fulfilled the same role, but within different industries, essentially. And
Okay.
so when we get a chance to, we collaborate and compare notes. And so we don't get
Yeah.
to work closely together, but we
Yeah.
kind of do retros together to talk
Mhm.
about experiences and how are you doing this and how are you planning to do that.
Bryn, what's something that you've learned from Cheyenne's style?
Shianne and I sat down when I was in San Antonio a few weeks ago and just talked about like how her team manages goals. We both manage what we kind of call our mid-market space or like our smaller government in my case. And, we're helping to develop account managers for future positions within our team. So I wanted to learn from her about how they manage goals and how they compare to what we call like the next level 2 account managers, and just kind of we went back and forth on kind of how our different teams do different things related to goals.
Mm. Cheyenne, what's something you've learned from Bryn?
I think the sector that Bryn operates in has a completely different approach to account management than us. We're talking about state and local governments and Bryn's sector versus we work with commercial natural resources companies in the sector that I work in. And so understanding how Bryn approaches her coaching with her account managers, even though it's in a completely different sector, has been really valuable to me because we get stuck in a kind of a narrow lensed approach sometimes when you operate like in a sector like I do. And so it's been really refreshing to hear how she's had to approach some of the specific coaching and mentorship with her account managers towards their success and reflectively apply that to my team, even
Mhm.
though it may not seem like it's exactly related. It has been really helpful to have that different perspective come into my leadership role.
Yeah, fresh eyes, get out of our own bubble, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cheyenne, how would you describe your leadership style and your coaching style?
Servant leadership is number one. That is my number one. And so I don't ever ask my team to do something that I wouldn't do myself because I believe that your team is not only inspired by a leader that will essentially walk the walk, but also credibility and trust are so important to ensuring a team's success. So servant leadership is something I focus on. And then from a coaching perspective, I've actually had to really polish my coaching because what I've noticed about myself is sometimes I tend to want to tell my team what to do. And I've had to make some recalibrations, and I've really tried to align my coaching style more with why don't you suggest or ask what would you do and then coach based on the response. So my coaching style is a journey, but I would say I'm focused on trying to coach more to what they would do and coach from there versus telling them what to do.
I love that. Yeah, we're always learning. And I love that you have that mindset to continue to grow and to continue to improve on your own and not rest on our laurels, right? Up on leadership, right? Because you said you're going to walk the walk, right? And if
Yeah,
you're helping future leaders, you got to be the
that's
leader
right.
that you want to create, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Bryn, what's over the past couple years, what do you think has shifted for you in this new role?
It's going from being a player to a coach is
Mhm.
definitely different. There's been times where I'll be with my team, some of them are on the newer side, and we'll be in a meeting with a customer, and I have a really hard time not taking over that meeting because I'm like, I know how to do this. I've done this 100 times. Let's do it. And that's something I'm still working on as a leader, is letting people work through some growing opportunities. But I also feel like you have to meet people where they are. And your first meeting with a customer, maybe it's better to be listening to someone else go through it. So there is a little bit of that balance of learning to take a step back, but also stepping in when it's the right time. And that's something that I'm still playing with, but I think I'm getting better at as I go.
Yeah, I love that because you also want to show, like, help them
Yeah.
learn how
Yeah.
to run the meeting. Then you also have to go fly, my birdie, and let them
Yeah. Yeah.
fly through the meeting. Or maybe, it's like having a kid, they scrape their knee, but
Good for us.
you
Yes.
gotta scrape your
Exactly.
knee sometimes. It's okay. So what I'm curious what you both think about what aspiring leaders can do to align their career paths and their long-term goals with their values, and how to navigate unexpected opportunities that may arise that maybe surprise them and are like, oh, I thought I was going this way, but this way actually looks very interesting. Cheyenne.
Yeah, so there's two parts to this, and I'll let Bryn address that unexpected, because that's I think what happened with both of us with the leadership roles that we're in. But I will say, just from addressing the concept of the aspiring leader, I would encourage professionals to really kind of check themselves at the door first. Make sure that the aspirations that you have for leadership actually align with what that leadership role entails. I think a lot of times we see taking on a leadership role or taking a promotion as that's just what you do, and that's how you measure progress and measure success. But it's really critical to make sure that you're not just seeking leadership or a promotion because that's what you do to feel successful. Make sure you're actually seeking the gratification that comes with leadership. And the best way to do that is, there are so many golden opportunities to informally lead in the role that you are in right now. So ask to be a mentor, ask to be a, secondary coach in the role that you're in right now. Speak to your current management team, look for those opportunities right where you're at, because that's a good way to test whether or not you actually want to be in leadership, starting with coaching. And so if you can give yourself that opportunity to expand that skill set or try that skill set out right where you're at, it could help you decide whether or not to continue along that aspirational path and continue to seek those true leadership opportunities.
Yeah. Bryn, suspense now. I must know about these unexpected twists and turns.
Well, on that piece, I mean, I think both Cheyenne and I were just open to someone being like, "Hey, you should do this." And I don't think either of us saw ourselves in the positions we're in today a few years ago, or maybe ever early in my career. So I think we're just being open to the opportunities that present themselves. And I think being able to push yourself, because it was definitely a little about outside of my comfort zone, and being like, okay, I see this as a learning and growing opportunity rather than something that maybe scares me, and just embrace that, and like let your
Mm,
career happen to you a little bit more than you plan is kind of what I feel like the path I've gone down.
mm, hmm hmm Are there, how do you continue to calibrate what feels like your long-term goals and these unexpected opportunities?
Well, I think that in our cases, these weren't our long-term goals, but I'm happy with where I've landed. So I don't think you have maybe you have like a rigid plan for yourself, and maybe that's perfect for you. And maybe it's exactly what you want to do. You know exactly what you want to do, but I don't think most people really do know what they want to do. I think people might have an idea, and when they get their hands dirty, are like, is this really where I wanted to be? And so I think it's kind of some of the things that Cheyenne's talked about, where it's like, do some testing of the waters around you and just sort of get a feel for things and be ready to pivot and move as opportunities present themselves, and continuing to grow is kind of the main thing you want to be doing. And I think, if leadership is something you want to be doing, the first thing you got to ask yourself is, am I good at my job today? Because if you're not good at your job today, that's your first thing. That's the first thing we're starting at. You don't have to be the best at every part of your job, but you got to be really good at, you got to be good at your job. You can't be the average team player and be like, I want to move up. So I think that's where you need to start focusing is like, what is about this role can I do better so that I feel like I'm one of the better of my team. So focus on where you are today and work on those pieces first.
I think that's really good advice.
Mhm.
Shianne, what are some things that mentors helped you with that you're grateful for?
Going back to what I mentioned earlier about adjusting my coaching style, one
Mhm.
of my favorite mentors that I worked with when I was a project manager, she was excellent at that style of, well, tell me what you would do instead of like giving me the answer when I would go to her for help. And the other thing that some of the mentors that have allowed me to grow in my career did is they gave me that space and that creative opportunity, and they told me. It wasn't like I woke up one day and realized, oh, they were very blatant about like, I want you to be creative. I want you to go and do, and this is the space I'm carving out for you to do that. So it instills confidence when mentors are so direct about saying, yeah, you have this job to do and we have these expectations for you, but also we are encouraging you to carve out this space over here so that you're growing those skills and you're finding maybe a new part of yourself professionally that you didn't know exist. I would say that for me was some of the most impactful mentorship opportunities that came out of different roles that I've had at Esri.
Yeah, I love that because they saw a spark in you that they wanted to help kindle that flame.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Bryn, how about you? Any sage advice from a mentor that has stuck with you?
What's coming to mind is, as I've moved into more of a leadership role, is one of the big things that my mentor really pushes is having direct conversations with people, giving direct feedback. And I don't think that's something that I had a lot of experience in. I think for a lot of people that can feel awkward. And I
Mhm.
also think that a lot of people think they might be giving direct feedback, but people are not actually hearing that feedback. And so really thinking about what am I trying to communicate to this person and addressing issues as they arise, not waiting until they become big problems. And that's something that I've been working a lot on. And, in both of our roles with a lot of younger professionals, there's coaching that needs to be a big part of that. And having direct conversations and making sure people understand what you're saying, I think is really valued on both sides because if people do want to grow, they've got to learn where they need to be growing.
Mm-hmm. Well, we only have a couple minutes left and we're going to wrap up. I'd love to hear from both of you about, as someone with both of you having a healthy career here at Esri, what gets you excited to show back up tomorrow, Shianne?
You know, the impact, seeing the impact and the result of the work that I put in with my team, that's what gets me excited, is that's those small incremental changes that I look for to really ensure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And every day when I get to see, positive feedback, excited teammates, these wins that they have, that motivates me because it means that as a team, we're operating in the right direction and I want to come back and do it again the next day.
I love that. Bryn, how about you?
People ask me why I've been at Esri for 17 years, and the answer is always the people. It is the people we work with. I feel so privileged to work with smart people that are fun to be around, that challenge me and help me grow. We're a collaborative group, and I'm never alone in any task. And it is definitely 100% the people that I work with that bring me back every day.
I love that. Well, thank you both. We're out of time. This has been absolutely fantastic with Bryn and Shianne. And if folks want to keep the conversation going, what's the best way to reach out to you, Bryn?
Probably on LinkedIn. My name's pretty unique, so you should be able to find me pretty easily.
And Shianne?
Same, LinkedIn is the best platform for it.
It really is. It truly is. Well, you can look forward to both of you look forward to my requests because I hope to keep the conversation going and I hope you come back. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Hunter.
All right. Take care now.